I am here to walk you through today one of the most powerful transformations I've ever experienced in my life. I share this with you because I know through my own experience, talking with the women that are in my world, women who continue to pop up into my world, that there is a deep wound where women are not feeling like they're capable or able to step into who they really want to be as mothers because of their past or because of their trauma. And I have walked the walk of miscarrying before this sweet little baby angel was born. And when she was about 2.5 years old, I had a very deeply repressed memory resurface of a trauma that I experienced when I was very young. And she was going to say, what was that? It's not something that her and I have talked about. And so I come to you not as just the woman who's saying this is really easy, just do A, B, C, and D. I'm coming at you as the woman and the mother who has figured this framework out from really getting hit and knocked over in my own life and figuring it out, kind of just bumping around and sorting it out. I'm going to be sharing three points with you because they're not... We've got some doggies. They're not necessarily, they are 3 steps. I kind of do them in a row, but there's a lot of your own creativity, your own essence that really needs to go into them. So it's simple in that it's 3 steps, and this also has probably been the most challenging sequence of inner work, of personal self-care, and really emotional, spiritual, and physical navigation in terms of relationships that I have ever really undergone. So we are here to talk about how do we break the cycle. And before I even really get into what these 2 steps are, I really want to frame up oopsie, when you're a mama at home. My son is sleeping, but if you're new to my world and this is the first time you're ever seeing me, my vibe is totally being in space with our children. The magic is found in space with our children. It's not to take steps away from them. It's not to go outside of ourselves and find something magical. The magic is in here. It is in this space between us and our children that all of this really came about for me as well. So it's important to share that. And again, I will be sharing kind of more pieces of my story. You can follow me on Instagram as well. That's where you're going to find kind of more of the personal backstory of me and what I've been through. But let's just get into it, because you're wondering, well, sure, how do you break the cycle? This probably sounds really great. And the cycle I'm referring to, it could be like physical trauma or emotional trauma on you personally, like somebody inflicted this upon you when you were, in my instance, when I was young and vulnerable, and something like that. Or the trauma could be something in your adult life, and sometimes we don't necessarily think that it's traumatizing, but I'll frame it up for you this way. If you have anything in your life right now that you don't like, that when it, for lack of a better word right now before we get into it, happens, that I don't like this in my life. This is just something that it keeps coming up for you. If you have anything in your life that continues to come up for you and it doesn't make you feel good and you wish that you could change it, then stick with me, because this break the cycle sequence is 100% for you. Okay, so let's dive into it. Number 1, the first thing, the number 1 most important, if you even forget what the other 2 steps of the sequence are, number 1 is most important. Number 1, you do not engage. You do not engage. You do not engage with the thing that's ticking you off. You do not engage with the thing that is bringing up your pain, your sadness, your just that you are being triggered by. You do not engage with it.
No.
Now, this is different than avoiding it. Because I'm sure there's some of you out there, as I used to be, say, well, I can't just avoid it, it's here. And then I would look at it, I would analyze it until the ends of the earth, and I would dig into it. And then what I continue to find is what I'm sure you found, is that it just gets bigger. You feel sadder, you feel angrier, you feel more traumatized, you feel more hurt.
Anger.
Yes, definitely. So you do not engage, and not from the place of, I don't want to deal with this because I can't handle it. This is I choose not to engage with this because it is not serving me. I choose to not engage with this because it is not in my highest good. I choose not to engage with this because I choose to heal. I choose not to engage with it because I choose to move forward. I choose not to engage with it because I choose to be present here right now, because the trauma is past. The pain is past. The suffering is past. Here in this pure present moment, it is just you and a choice. And number one, do not engage
with the thing that's making you angry.
With the thing that's making you angry. And a word that we hear a lot is to be triggered by. And recognize as well, if you have the language in your own narrative that you say, you triggered me. Nobody or nothing out there is triggering you. You are being triggered by it. And that sense of ownership, I mean, you will never avoid anything. Avoiding means I don't want to pay any attention to this. So to face something, to face the truth of it, and for those of you who saw my little short, my reel, that maybe drew you here to get more explanation as to how we can break this cycle, it doesn't take time. It just takes courage. To face something face to face, it doesn't mean it has to be the long drawn out process where we pull it all apart and extrapolate and find out all the details and then deal with them piece by piece. That's not what we're doing here. We're facing things as women in the now who hold our power and desire something different. So dysfunction, and I'm going to use this word here now, it just means something that's not functioning well for you. So if you have this cycle that keeps coming up for you of maybe it's between you and your partner, maybe it's between you and your family, your siblings, your parents, your in-laws, you and your friend group. There's so many ways that this can be. Being respectful of mommy's time here. I respect you. So many different relationships this can be coming up with, yes? Dysfunction does not exist in solitude. So there's no way that dysfunction can continue if it's just solitary. And it's never solitary because it's you and yourself. And by that I mean your true self, your innate, infinite self that goes on and continues long after we leave these bodies. And then like the egoic mind, the thinking mind, the mental self. There's always two components, whether it's I'm being triggered by my husband or I'm being triggered by my own past. There's always two things at play, and that's where dysfunction comes together. The two things are not aligning well, they're not working symbiotically, they're not harmonizing, there's dysfunction. It's not functioning well. And that's to say the do not engage. Because if you do not engage with it, then there's just this, I don't have to hold anything up, but say you have something in a candle here. So you have this thing, and I'm being triggered by it. I'm not going to go, and this is what this looks like. I'm not going to go and tell this candle everything I'm feeling. I'm not going to say, you can't do this to me, you're not allowed to do this, da-da-da-da-da, and then speak at it. Because what's going to happen if I engage with that which is triggering me, it's going to come back at me. Either in text message, in voicemail, if you're in person with somebody, it's going to be a phone call, it's going to be a barrage of things, maybe your whole family gets involved. It becomes a really big thing. So if you don't engage with it, and you just say, okay, internally, I'm being triggered by this, I choose not to engage with this. You just don't. You don't look at it, you don't think about it, you don't talk to it, you don't text it, you don't call it, you don't write it notes, you don't do anything with it. You just do not engage.
Do not engage.
Doesn't matter, and it's going to come back. And it might come back. You do not engage. Doesn't matter how many text messages, how many times it calls you, how many letters, doesn't matter what it does. Because you are being triggered by it. You do not give your power to this thing, whatever it is, your past, your trauma. Doesn't matter. If you continue to look at it, if you continue to talk to it, if you continue to engage with it, it's going to get bigger. And that's your choice. I wouldn't recommend it. I did it for a long time too. Oh man, how many times I have fought to be right and to be heard and to be validated, to be acknowledged. And when the other component, even if it's internal,
will get bigger.
even if it's internal, that's a deck of cards that's bigger than the candle. It will get bigger, it will get more painful, and you will suffer, and everybody around you will suffer as well. So number one, do not engage. Don't do it. Do not engage. And then number two, that's a really big one. If you have any questions about how exactly to do that, definitely let me know. Type in the comments or shoot me a message. But simply just, it's don't do the thing that when you feel that, like when you're triggered and you just want to fight, that's when you pull back. That's when you pull back. That's when you stop. You put your phone down. You turn your ringer off. If you turn your whole phone off, you lock your doors, you close the blinds, you do what you got to do. You do not engage. And that may seem simpler when it is something external that you're being triggered by. When it's internal, it's the same. It's still the same. So when it's something internal and you're just dealing with you, it can seem a little more convoluted, a little more abstract as to how do I not engage with it. And it's the conversation that you start having with yourself of, oh my God, I can't believe I'm feeling this again. I can't believe this is coming up for me again. I feel so bad. I feel this shame and this guilt that's all coming up. You got to stop having the conversation. Stop having the conversation. Stop having the conversation. And that simply is, I'm not engaging in this anymore. And you say that once on a text message, or you say that once on a phone call, or say that once in a letter. You may have to say it to yourselves more times in your head because you're with you all the time. You cannot separate the inner you from the physical you at this point because you're here with me, which is beautiful. So that's it. I choose not to engage with this. I choose not to engage with this. If you record it and you put it on loop, or you just keep saying that, well, this comes up, I choose not to engage with this. Keep facing it, keep facing it, keep facing it. If you have to say it 10 million times a day, I choose not to engage with this, then you say it 10 million times a day, it doesn't matter. When you commit to not engaging with that which does not serve you, well, now we get to number two. So, number two, I think one's super clear. Do not engage. Break the cycle, you gotta not engage with it. Whatever cycle it is, do not engage, break it. It's broken. So now it's broken. What do we do? Step 2 of the sequence is we must consciously set healthy boundaries and commit to upholding them. And clearly communicate them. Because no matter how clear you are with your boundaries, if you're not communicating them to those people who may be the ones crossing them, they're going to get trampled all over all the time, and you're going to be left with a really far more challenging experience on your hands. So consciously set your boundaries and clearly communicate them. So your boundaries may be physical boundaries. Maybe you're not welcome here. You're not welcome in my home. You're not welcome to say hi to me if you see me on the street. You're not welcome to text me. You're not welcome to call me. These may be the boundaries you can set. Also, taking personal responsibility for what those boundaries may look like. You can ask people to respect your boundaries. They don't have to do it. They're their own people, and they can choose to disrespect and cross your boundaries as much as they want. So what do you need to do? Well, that's up to you. If you think they're going to respect them, great. Maybe they cross that line. They send you the text, and you've asked them not to. Well, then you block their phone number. You delete their numbers from your phone. You do what you need to do. There's all these ways that we are set up in this digital age to connect with people. You have the ability to set up your boundaries to keep that away as well. Again, with yourself. What are your boundaries with self? What are you willing to do? And that's, again, boundaries around what you choose to engage in. So if you're asking all of this to shift, you desire this to shift, you're saying, I do not engage with this, then you have to be really integral with what you're engaging with. Are you listening to things that feed the negative narratives? Are you consuming TV shows and music that feeds your depression, that feeds your anxiety, that feeds your overwhelm? What is the vibration of the things that you are eating, that you are seeing, that you are hearing, that you are tasting, touching, smelling, all of it? What are those boundaries for you? You say, I don't turn my TV on Monday to Friday. I don't turn my TV on at all. I put my phone on off for 2 hours every day. Maybe you turn your phone off at night. My husband thinks I'm crazy because I turn my phone off at night. I say, don't people do this? Like, my phone's off a lot of the time because that's just, it's an energetic thing for me. Because, exactly. Because I have babies and I want to take care of them. So that's not my phone. So there's just a few examples of what those physical boundaries could be. And then there are your emotional boundaries as well, which do feed out of this. So consciously set your boundaries and then communicate them clearly to people. Don't just in your head say, okay, you can't text me, you can't call me, but not tell that person to not text or call you. Don't just... My phone is not a baby. Don't just say to yourself, okay, I'm not going to, I've been watching these series on Netflix and they trigger me so much, and then this shame just bubbles up inside of me. Well, I'm not going to watch that show. That's a boundary for me. I'm not going to cross it. And don't cross it. All of these things. So step number 1, do not engage. Then step 2, consciously create those intentional and healthy boundaries and clearly communicate them. When you're dealing with self, communicate them clearly, write them down, put it in a voice note you can listen to, like whatever, if you're visual, auditory, whatever you need to do to really be clear with you on what those are. Instead of saying, okay, well, I'm not going to engage with it and it's all going to go well. You need to know what those lines are, because you may not find out some of them until you cross them, and then you're going to realize there's another one. You can set a healthy boundary there. And then step number 3 of the sequence, also just crucial, is create your safe zone. A place that you can be that is safe for you. Kind of like if you wanted to quit smoking, you say, okay, well, what am I going to put in place of that to help transition me out of it? I'm going to maybe do push-ups every time I want to have a cigarette. That was my thing many, many years ago when I kicked that bad habit. It was push-ups and sit-ups. And kind of similar to that. So when you feel all of this happening, and when you're feeling like, okay, like I've not engaged with it, but like I really, if I send that one dig of a text message, or if I just, I'm really dying to know what happened in that Netflix episode, I'm just gonna watch a little bit. When you feel those things and you're right at that edge, and crossing over that line is not what you've committed to, where do you go? What's your safe zone? What's your safe space? Maybe it's yoga, maybe it's meditation, maybe it's working out, maybe it's walking in nature, maybe it's, lighting a candle, maybe it's having a bath, maybe it's just dancing wild and free, maybe it's getting naked and streaking through your backyard, I don't know, whatever that is. But have your safe zone, a place that when you engage in it, it feels good, it feels real, it feels free, it feels blissful, it feels like you. Find and create that safe space. And it may not be a safe physical space, like this is the corner of my room where I feel safe. It may be looking more for the experience. What is the experiential safe place that you can create and cultivate for yourself that you can pop yourself into when you need to? 3 simple steps to break the cycle. There's so many cycles that this can apply to, whether this is internal trauma, trauma from your past, intergenerational trauma, past life trauma. This can just be dysfunctional relationships with family members, with friends, dysfunctional relationship with self. I mean, this is the first one that we need to heal, and this is really where all of this lies. Is you may start with, I have this one friend that's A, B, C, or D. And then maybe you put this into place. I'm not going to engage with this, and setting the healthy boundaries. I've communicated with them. They can't text me after midnight because they've always had too much to drink and it just goes awry, or whatever it is. You communicate it clearly, and then you have your safe space. So you know what? I know they're going to be lighting my phone up, or they're going to be trying, even though I've asked them not to. I'm going to turn my phone off. My safe space is lighting a candle, listening to some soothing nature sounds, and just being in meditative space with myself. Something like that. There's so many beautiful ways that you can integrate into this. I would love to hear from you how this landed. And again, if you want any more like personal one-on-one support, I do have a lot to offer in that realm. Didn't introduce myself at the beginning. I am Angel Rockwell. I am a mama. I am a guide. I am a spirit channel. I am a healer, and I am a coach. And there is so much magic here for you to break the cycle of what has come before us and to choose something different. Can be the most challenging thing that you have ever done. Nobody has done it before you because you're here. And you are the one. If you're feeling that, like, I don't want to be in this anymore. This doesn't feel right. Somebody needs to change something. That somebody is you. And I promise you, it does not take much time. It doesn't at all. And the sense that when you take this into play, you put this into action and you say, okay, I'm not engaging with this one thing. And you know what it is. Or you know who it is. Often it starts with a who. When we take that power back for ourselves and say, I choose not to engage in this anymore. And you stick to it, and you just don't do it, and you free up all of that space, well, there's so much magic that can flow in there. Okay, if you like this, hit that like, follow me for more. There's going to be so much more here coming on my channel. Send it to a friend if you think that they could use it. And again, there's lots of links on my profile page. You can find me on Instagram and all kinds of other fun places. So for now, let's break the cycles of dysfunction. Let's enjoy these beautiful, blissful lives with our babies as we are meant to be. You're meant to have and be everything you desire in this life. It does not take a bunch of external stuff. It just starts with this. You choose what you engage with. You choose what you do not engage with, and have that beautiful, safe space where you can pour into yourself in ways that feel good. We break that cycle. We stop staring at the thing. Trauma, the pain, the past. You stop staring at it. Candle. You stop staring at it. You do not engage with it. It will eventually peter out and go away. And then you have the freedom to continue to choose more and more and more for yourself.